Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever is appropriate for you where you are in the world. My name is Scott, and as you can see, I'm here with Trina Paulus, author of Hope for the Flowers, and so much more. And Trina, you were talking about how you've just been exploring some of the old, acquaintances is not exactly the word, but there are some people who have really been special in your life. And I was wondering if you could tell us, and that'll be a little bit of the theme of our show today, won't it be? And could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, Scott, yesterday I got very excited hearing Harry Belafonte in an interview that he did when he was 94. And with me being 92, I'm thinking, what a wonderful chance to do these things. And you are making this possible for me. So perhaps I think this might be one of two sections on my New York experience, because I had some New York experiences around 1960, very much at the same time that Harry Belafonte was studying in New York at the New School of Social Research, which I went to too. I just feel so privileged with the things that I had a chance to do. Now, I didn't know Harry. I didn't know Marlon Brando or the other people he was studying with at that time in acting. And I didn't know anything about his efforts to become a singer and how that all happened and how it became launched. I learned a lot of that yesterday, and he has such beautiful quotes that I have donated now to my favorite listener-supported radio station called WBAI 99.5 in New York, or it's online also. And I donated so that I get recordings and this interview again, because I said, oh, I want to hear it again. I can't write it all down, all the good things he was saying. So it put me back into the theme, which I think is today's and maybe next week's theme, about the role of the artist, in the social times and the times of the moment. And so that's really what it is. And it's it's so it's so useful. Okay, he was at the New School of Social Research. I went to it too and took a lot of the people there were refugees from Europe who were left because of the Nazis. And this is now 1959, 60, 61, 62. And want to tell you a story about 1968. Now, some background is probably necessary to know what this meant for me. I'm an Ohio girl. I grew up in Cleveland. I was many years in an almost monastic situation at Grailville, where we grew our food, and I started the art department there after 2 years at Ohio State. I was in sculpture, and I did a lot of sculpture, and we sold a lot of things. So because I was an artist, I was making a brochure for the first official fundraiser that we had ever had. The Grail began at Grailville in 1944. I came in 1949. And so you can see that this is the Second World War period and the post-Second World War period that I was in high school, 45 to 49. And I left immediately and gave up 2 college scholarships to go to this farm at Grailville in Loveland, Ohio, where I was in the laundry for the first year. And we made our own bread. We milked our own cows. We lived very, very simply and humbly, and slept in corn cribs and converted chicken houses and had outdoor lavatories. And you can see it was very simple, but I felt I was living like the Cathedral of Chartres, or the workers next to it, who participated in this high cultural reality of art and beauty and living very simply themselves. And it was a wonderful experience. I just wish it for everybody. And very rare in the middle of the 20th century, too, for a young Catholic girl who did not want to become a nun or get married to have this experience. So in the face of all that, In 1958, I was brought to New York. Now, I'm from Ohio, from the Midwest. I'd been to New York once with my family when I was 6 years old, and we stayed in a hotel overnight. And I remember looking down at the little teeny cabs on the street, and they were just teeny weeny, and it was just an amazing experience. So here I am. I'm living in Brooklyn at our center where we help girls get trained to go to professional women, not girls, young women who are teachers or nurses, to go to South America and different countries, particularly Brazil, to work there. And I stayed there, and then I had to go on the subway to meet these people at the Empire State Building, 66th floor of the Empire State Building. So this is my first subway ride. I go down into the subway and I go. Now, for people who know the subway like I do now and other people, it's not such a big deal, but it was a big deal for me that day. And so I went down and I got off at Grand Central Station and went up all those flights of stairs up to the surface. And then I found my way to the Empire State Building and the 66th floor, and had my little meeting with the people that I don't remember very much. But they then gave me a ticket to the observation deck up at the top, and I had a chance to go up there and look all over New York from that place. And when I came back to them, they said, "Would you like to go to a matinee, Broadway matinee?" Oh, I'd never done anything like that before. And so somebody had said where I had been living that a play called The Raisin in the Sun was a very good one, and they had a ticket for that. So here I traipsed off to a Broadway matinee on a Wednesday afternoon, and the seat was in the orchestra right near the front. It was right in the middle of this, just perfect. And there was Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis and other people with this poignantly beautiful story written by Lorraine Hansberry. It was the first time ever that a Black woman's play had been ever produced on Broadway. And it was a story about a very poor family renting and hardly making it, and the drama of the whole thing. Well, I was so moved by this whole thing, and I had the paper of the whole program, and in it was the poem by Langston Hughes, which I think I want to read to you right now. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? Now, thinking of all this again, in the light of what's happening in the world today, and the wars and the deaths and the bombardments in Gaza, or does it explode? What do we expect when we keep a people down for a long time? Something like this happens. One of these answers. Does it dry up? Does it fester like a sore? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over, or just sag like a heavy load, or does it explode? So that still says a lot to me. Now, I was so moved by this production. I'm alone. There's nobody to talk to. There's nobody next to me. I don't know anybody. And everybody in the theater leaves except me. I'm sitting there. And the man comes in to sweep and get ready for the evening show, the custodian. And I say, it was such a wonderful thing. And he said, would you like to go backstage and go to the dressing room of Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis? Okay. So he took me back there, and there was Ruby sewing up a skirt for her evening performance, and Ossie was sitting there, and we visited, and I had made some subway drawings of people, and I gave some of them to them and had a beautiful visit with them. And of course, I followed them later in their lives as they both did so much for the civil rights movement and gave their lives really for justice and equality and the right and the good of this world and this country. So Ruby Dee, Ossie Davis, presente. So that was my 1958 amazing, unexpected experience of just being picked up by that beautiful experience. Now I went back to Grailville and did more work in the art production program and all that kind of thing. And then I came back in 1960-61 for what I would call my New York period. I cooked breakfast every morning for 35 people. As the girls went out, the nurses and the teachers went out before they went out to work. And then I had the rest of the day and the evening to pursue my art thing. And I'll deal with some more of that next week, except for one thing I wanted to tell you about this time. And this is where Harry Belafonte and we went to the new school. The new school was a lot of people from Nazi Germany came over, and I was able to take a course by this wonderful Dr. Zucker, who was an escapee, because I guess he's Jewish, and he escaped from Nazi Germany, and he was giving the whole course and on Western art, which was largely Christian art, and here he was. And I remember being so excited with something he said that I went up and said, "Do you know the work of Teilhard de Chardin, who is one of my heroes, the paleontologist who wrote the book, The Divine Milieu, and then also The Phenomena of Man?" And hardly anybody ever did that. So one day, Dr. Zucker invited me over to his house and said the very mysterious thing, really sort of a strange, he says, "Now tell me more about your family. What's it like?" Now, my name is Paulus, which means I come out of German, Alsace-Lorraine background, back over 150 years ago. And he says, "If you were to get pregnant, would your family take you in?" That was an odd question. But I thought, yes, they would. And I don't know why that was important to him, but it was a very odd question to ask. But the other thing I took that I want to emphasize at that moment, I had the privilege of working with Jose de Kreft, who is about 75, and I'm like 31 at this point. And this is the sculpture, a cast of the sculpture I made from white Carrara marble. And I used to carry it back and forth on the subway. He wouldn't let you make a clay model of it. He said you could draw your sketches and make your sketches, but you had to look at the stone and you just took off, which wasn't necessary. So you can see what the shape of this stone was. It was, you can see it. You can see what the shape of the stone was, because I took off just as little as necessary to make a statement. And I think you can see one of the prevailing, the glare of the light.
Yes,
One of the
I
prevailing things that I always am focusing on is our surrender to God as the central action of our lives. Plus then the reaching out and being a way that God reaches the world through us, through our love, through our reaching out. That's the point. That's the whole gospel, actually, tied up in that reaching out. So that was what I did there. I was this young whippersnapper at that time, still at early 30s, and he was like 73 or 83. I'm not sure just how old he was. But I remember once when I was putting my boots on or something, he says, "Oh, you have very nice feet." He always liked these little, my feet, my toes were not long and, lovely like a fashion model's. I would always sort of short and stubby things that my toes were too. And so, but I get the thing, he liked that. His famous works are more like an egg cracking open. something very simple like this, or a thing like this. It's just a simple like bird in space that was just carved out of something that I saw at the Museum of Modern Art, which is why I went to him in the first place, because I really liked his work. So that's my Jose de Creft story, and the first part of my New York episode, which we will continue because so much more happened. Oh, one more thing here I could show you real quick.
Yes, please.
Here's one more thing.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know where you can see it. This is
Can really see it well. The lighting is great.
A bronze casting. And I think
Wow.
part of you see a little bit of glow on it. That's what you have to do. You have to burnish the part that you want to have the dark oxide removed from, and then you can get it to show. So I did that sort of thing in New York. I went to welding. I did welding. Oh my goodness, what an extravagant time I had. And I'll tell you about that next week, perhaps.
Well, that's
so
wonderful.
I guess this is it. Is it today for Scott?
You know, we were talking just before going on the air that there are just so many more things about you that we don't, and I don't know about you. Just such a wealth of background of people and the various artistry that you're in. You just surprised me with that latest bronze sculpture that you just had. So I'm really appreciative and glad that you come on every week and that you just show just a little bit more of yourself each week, and I'm looking forward to what you have to share next week. So,
thank you.
Do you have any final closing words, Trina?
At 92, one has had a lot of chapters. That's what the case is. So thank you, Scott, for making it possible for me. And I guess I'm feeling a little more comfortable doing this, and you're the one who helps me do that. Thank you so much.
Well,
and thank you everybody who looks. And we're trying to find our theme, and maybe this is it, just these sporadic stories. Like this is starting in the middle with the theme of the arts relating to the times and the spirit. That's what it's about. And that's what Harry Belafonte did.
Yeah. So valuable and so interesting, and so much looking towards next week. Thank you.